Has your pastor ever on a Sunday tried to maybe use humor, tell a joke? Are you, as a parishioner, saying, well, swing and a miss? He needs a little bit of help. Well, I think we found something that could help. It's a book called Pastor Jokes: The Good, the Bad, and the Holy by author, comedian, and minister to comedians, Chris Wineland, who's here with us. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Todd. How's it going?
Nice of you to have a copy of the book there just to show us there.
I'm just
Perfect.
immediately putting it up right next to my face. It's a nice hard copy. It's a perfect gift for pastors, and
Nice.
it really has been a lot of fun to write.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because pastors love books and putting them on the shelf and that. So this is like going to be a reference study.
Yeah.
First of all, talk to us from a comedian's perspective about humor in the pulpit. Um, is it overused, underused, or should it not be used at all?
Right? It might be used, it's always used with good intentions. Okay, I would say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been blessed to do stand up now for 18 years, 17 years, and I've also been blessed to be a pastor. I've had many, many years where I'm a youth pastor. I was an associate pastor. I was starting to, just be many different, I was about to be a lead pastor, all these different things. And one thing I notice is that pastors love comedy. Every pastor thinks that they can be a comedian. God bless them.
Yeah.
And because I'll go and I'll perform at a church, and somebody, the pastor would be like, "I've always wanted to do comedy," and I'm like, "Oh, really? Okay, you're still trying." But I think I think what's interesting is that every pastor we've noticed after doing hundreds of churches, every pastor has their favorite joke to tell, but then they're always looking for a couple of jokes. And I do think it's a great way to start off, a message. I don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of humor. When I guest preach at churches across the country, I always use humor. I do funny stories, I do jokes, I do everything. And I think it just helps to open up somebody to help pay attention, maybe to heal. Sometimes laughter can be healing. So
Mhm.
sometimes they're laughing, and then you hit them with the point of the message. You hit them with scripture, and they're like, "Whoa, I just didn't see that coming." So I think it's important.
Okay. Well, we don't have any record in the scriptures of Jesus ever telling a joke or anything like that. But you got to know after 3 years hanging around with him that he had to be fun to hang around with, or else I don't think maybe,
Yeah.
theologically, can you dive into that maybe?
Yeah, let's dive into that theologically there, Todd. You know, I think first off, Jesus may have been a bit of a youth pastor. He gave free food out, right? So already you're like, hey, there you go. And then
Right.
older rabbis, they didn't like him. So that's a very youth pastory thing, when an older pastor is like side eyeing, and
Yeah.
some of the his disciples, they've learned historically they could have been more around the 13, 14, 15, maybe even 16-year-old,
Hmm.
17. So it's like there's a chance that he was dealing with, some young rambunctious people. It's hard for me not to think that maybe there could have been a little bit of humor, or at least that he could have chuckled, if he saw Peter. Peter said crazy stuff. If Peter said something and he kind of, laughed or chuckled, or I've
Right.
heard I've heard pastors say that the Sons of Thunder could have been a funny nickname that
Yeah.
Jesus gave them. And so there's that. But I also think one of the first jokes in history of the world, I personally attribute to Elijah in the Old Testament, when he's mocking these false priests, and they're competing to say, okay, I'm gonna, he's like, I'm gonna prove that God is the real God, because fire's going to come down from heaven, and it did. And then he said, "Now it's your turn to prove to me that your fake God is real." And so they couldn't do it. And he said, "Maybe your God's, going to the bathroom. Maybe he's taking a nap." And this guy, he just goes just straight roasting these people.
Yes.
And as a comedian, I can't read that and not think that's one of
Mhm.
the first jokes ever recorded in the history of mankind. And
Right.
it's
Right.
fantastic.
Thinking about Jesus too, he also had a doctor on staff for maybe those times when things got out of hand. Luke was just a handy uh,
Right.
call him in. Well, talk about pastors in the pulpit. What made you think, okay, we need to write some of these? Were you capturing some of your favorites, or
Yes.
are some of these just in case you need a quick reference?
Yeah, so most of these jokes were written by my wife and I. Micah, Micah is my wife, and her and I, a lot of them were original written jokes. But ever since I was a kid, I've been getting joke books. People have just been giving it to me.
Oh,
And so I really fell in love with joke books at a young age. When I was 13, I created a joke website that doesn't exist anymore.
ah,
But I just have always loved the idea of small, quick, clever jokes. And so, getting into as an adult and being a pastor and being a comedian, I thought, what a great thing. I just wanted to give something, around Pastor Appreciation Month. I remember being a pastor, nobody knew what to give a pastor. And, no pastors ask for gifts, but they get it. And it's like, thank you. I appreciate this random bag of Hershey Kisses, but I think maybe we could find a different gift. And so, that was where the idea stemmed from. And I just thought, I love joke books. I love them. And so some of this is a collection of some of my favorite jokes that I've repurposed, and
ah,
to really help pastors. I also have an entire section that my wife and I made for sermon illustrations.
ah,
So that when you go through and you go, ooh, I want something about tithing, or I want something about, a sin I'm trying to preach, against, or whatever, we have that in here.
wow.
So we have that, and then we have one of my favorite sections is all about church staff members. So we're doing a little bit of a roast, a light roast towards everyone
Mm.
in a church staff. So we make fun of youth pastors a little bit, and we make fun of secretaries and just executive pastors. One of my favorite jokes I wrote, I was up at night finishing this book, and I added it last minute, and it just said, and I'll ask it to you like a joke there, Todd.
Oh, okay, okay.
Why does nobody pay attention to the executive pastor?
Uh, I don't know why.
Who?
Ah, got it.
That's it. It's just a quick joke.
The quick one. So these can be peppered throughout maybe the sermon or just informal church meetings. You know how exciting they can be.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it's for. It's just to really bring some life and some humor. And yeah, some of these they can be on a sermon, but some of these, like we have a section just for pastors. Like just read this and it'll help you feel, better. And we specifically wrote down some of the stresses that we've dealt with. My wife was a pastor's kid, so she grew up with that
Oh,
perspective.
okay.
And I didn't grow up as a pastor's kid, but I did become a pastor. So, there's sometimes you have conversations with people, and just like the frustrations of everybody coming in with an opinion of you should have this event, you should do this, you should paint your walls different. So we wrote a whole section just for pastors to laugh at that kind of situation and
Mm.
just let the stress leave them.
Awesome. Awesome. Now it's just been released, but I'm sure you've had like a little pre-release and people have read it. What kind of feedback have you had so far from people that have read the book?
Oh yeah. So I had a text from a pastor that got the book, and he texted me like he was a friend of mine, and I think he originally just got it. Oh yeah, this will be fun. He texted me and he was like, "Dude, this is actually funny." And I'm
Actually,
that's like the best quote you could possibly use. It's actually funny. Some joke books are just joke books, but like the goal was to make this audibly laugh, make you audibly laugh as a pastor. You would like this if you're a pastor's wife. You would like this if you're an intern at a church. If you attend a church, you would really like it. But our goal was to really honor a pastor. And, we also made, I don't know if you can see the cover, but we made it look like you could fit this in your library, in
oh
your
yeah.
office. You could put this next to, A.W. Tozer, C.S. Lewis, anybody that starts with initials, basically, Todd. So that's kind of the beauty of this book. And it looks nice. It's a hardcover. We have a soft cover coming, but to your point, it has already. We just launched it last week. We just published it last week. The reactions have been great. We already reached number one in new releases for joke books, which was really huge. I didn't expect that. That was
Wow.
very quick. And then now we're number five in pastor resources, and
Nice.
we're growing. We're growing. So Really quick as far as a success, and just super blessed by it. It's a book I'm really excited about. It's so random, but I like it.
Awesome. And it would be a great Christmas gift as well, upcoming. Uh,
hmm
so, Chris, where can people kind of catch up with you and probably have a link to order the book?
That's right. So if they go onto chriswineland.com, they're going to see a pop-up on the website right there that's going to say like get Pastor Joke book. If you go through my website, I will sign the book to any pastor that you want it to go to, and I will give a little message if you would like as well. And then also we have several churches that have large staff members and they want big group packages of the book, so we're doing that as well. So if
Oh,
you
good.
have if you have a certain amount of pastors on your staff, you'll be able to hit that number and say, "Oh yeah, we'd like to do group
Right.
books and stuff." So yeah, so that part's pretty good. But I would say chriswineland.com. You can also go on at Chris Wineland Comedy everywhere on social media, but definitely chriswineland.com. You'll be able to get that. You can also type in the name of this book on Amazon, and it'll be right up there, and you can get that shipped to you pretty quickly through Amazon.
Perfect. It's called Pastor Jokes, the Good, the Bad, and the Holy by pastor, author, and comedian Chris Wineland. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.